Tennessee when I'm talking in front of people. I don't know why. My name's James V. I work for WeoGeo, and despite what I'm going to say, WeoGeo is actually a cloud company. We were built in the cloud in 2006, so I guess that gives me the reason to actually make fun of it. We've all heard today the word cloud again and again and again to where it means almost nothing to us. The problem that I have with saying you're going to put something in the cloud is you end up with sort of a marketing term that doesn't really mean anything. Why do you do something? What's the reason you do it? So, probably use the word cloud because it's at the peak of the hype cycle, right? It's like, I remember in the late 80s, or late 90s, I'm sorry, not that old. Remember the information superhighway and the World Wide Web. You didn't really know what you were talking about, but if you said that, then like your grandmother sort of nodded and said, oh yeah, I get that. Or I guess back in the early 2000s when someone asked, what did you do? And you would say, well, it's sort of like Google Earth, but because you could never say ESRIUC because no one knew what it meant. So I'm really concerned about the cloud becoming a money pit. You remember when the internet came along, and what's the first thing we all wanted to do? We wanted to put ArcView on the web. Remember that? I made a lot of money doing that. None of the apps actually lasted any long. You sort of would pay me $500,000. I'd take map objects. I would actually take Microsoft Access, hook them up together, and then deliver that to you. And you would use it and realize it didn't really work. Sorry about that. I was actually talking to a friend of mine. I actually wrote a Map Objects IMS app that maintains state in a Microsoft Access database. So all users would come in and the database would actually manage this stuff in the back end. Crazy. So what you'd happen is you'd go ahead and you'd have your project, you create it, you'd move it to the web, and what happened? It fell apart. It was a disaster. So I'm almost fearful the same thing is going to happen with the cloud, right? It's like, well, this didn't work on the internet. Well, if we move it to the cloud, of course it will work, right? Partly you get worried about the hype, right? When you start working with applications in the web, people they don't really think about what they want. They think about, what product they can use. Well, I've got this Google Earth thing is great. Let's put stuff in Google Earth, or maybe if we use a programming language, we can throw it up there. All this stuff is hype. It's not actually what you're doing. So basically, when it comes to, the clicker not working, in 2012, we've sort of gotten away from all these weird things about technologies and stuff, and it's all, kind of a big hug. I guess in Esri talk, or as we speak, that big hug is ArcGIS Online. There's nothing it can't do, especially if you pay for it. So I sort of want to back away though and say, look, GIS is very valuable. So, let's not just bang on it just because we're putting a marketing term around it. We want to sort of abstract GIS to the web. Rather than just saying, here's your ArcView, and have at it, and here's all your save buttons. You remember that toolbar we put on the top of every web app? It had a little save button, it had those little nudge things you could move, I don't know, a couple inches left and right. We did all that stuff because that was in ArcView. But in the web, it doesn't make any sense. So I was thinking, just for the next year, 5 years from now, we'll get this all figured out. But for the next year, I think there's 3 areas that we should focus on for the cloud. The first one, which we can all get behind, right, is publishing. Save to the cloud, right? I guess in ArcGIS, you can just go file, save, bam, it's in ArcGIS Online, it's available to everybody. It works, right? We can all do it. It's not hard, you don't have to learn, you don't have to know how to program, you don't have to know Python, you don't have to install information infra server, it all works. The other thing is search and discovery, right? How do we find data? You can type a GIS search into Google, and you may find data, but you probably won't. But if we can actually, maybe ArcGIS Online will be that way we get the data. You go there, find the data, and download it. Third one is ETL, processing, how you can get that. Big data sets, LiDAR, it's up on the internet. You grab it, you can run some processing and bring it down. How does it work? That would be a great way. If I only want a JPEG back, why should I download all the points? So Cloud GIS has these opportunities, but I think the next year we focus on those 3 things, it actually might be of value rather than saying, well, let's go figure out how we can get ArcView on the web. So remember, if the WebGIS didn't work. Just because you move it to the cloud doesn't mean it's going to work. Thanks.